And many thanks to our friends on the 5. Welcome to Hannity. This is a Fox News alert. Millions of Americans in Texas and now Louisiana, they are struggling to deal with the devastation that is caused by Hurricane Harvey. And of course, the media, what are they doing? Rushing to politicize a national tragedy in yet another pathetic attempt to bludgeon President Trump politically. You won't believe the latest disgusting examples of what is extreme media bias. Plus, President Trump, he goes directly to you, the American people. He's out pitching his tax reform plan to get jobs and people out of poverty and off food stamps. And also tonight, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, he met with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. He is now saying that Assange has information the president needs to hear. Is it possible there was never any Trump-Russia collusion at all? The congressman will explain. But first, the Destroy Trump media will never let a crisis go to waste. They are now exploiting all the devastation and destruction caused by Harvey to launch yet a new attack against President Trump. That is tonight's very important opening monologue. All right, so while the media politicizes yet another tragedy, President Trump is once again, he's leading the way on this recovery effort, along with the governor and lieutenant governor of Texas and local officials, and offering his full support. Here's what the president said earlier today in Springfield, Missouri.
The citizens of Texas and the Gulf Coast need all the prayers, support, and resources our communities have to offer. Recovery will be tough. But I have seen the resilience of the American spirit firsthand all over this country. To the people of Houston and across Texas and Louisiana, we are here with you today. We are with you tomorrow, and we will be with you every single day after to restore, recover, and rebuild.
Now, unfortunately, the Destroy Trump media, they won't focus on how hard the president and good politicians in Texas are working for all of these flood victims. Instead, the abusively biased press, they're stealing a page from the Democrats' playbook. And just like Chicago Mayor Rombo Deadfish Emanuel once infamously said, never let a crisis go to waste. He's talking about politics. Right now, millions of Americans are facing carnage and heartbreak caused by what may end up being the most expensive natural disaster in the history of this country. The media, seemingly, they don't care at all. They're using this as an opportunity to go after the president. Now, yesterday, the president, he traveled to Texas. He wanted to survey the damage and offer his full support. But, of course, that's not good enough for the elite left-wing media. Because, by the way, it never is. If he cured cancer, it wouldn't be enough. Now, they still found a way to twist and distort what the president's trip was about. For example, the partisan press, they tried to create a fake news controversy over the First Lady's shoes when she went aboard Marine One. How small, how petulant, how petty, how insignificant is the left in the media in this country when that's all they care about? And they're failing miserably in exposing themselves. Then they took things a step further. They tried to say that President Trump has no empathy for the victims. Now take a look at their new line of attack. We're highlighting all of the examples with our favorite ding sound again. All right, watch this.
Today, President Trump visited Texas, but he forgot to bring any empathy with him. So the president used today's hurricane coverage to promote Trump merchandise.
It was very striking that he didn't mention the number of people who have died, or even, sort of try to empathize with the fact that people are genuinely suffering.
It seems to me it's just concerned about optics. Just concerned about optics, and I want to be. I wish they would be concerned about people.
I don't think that he understands the human scale of misery. I don't think that he can connect with the sort of compassion that you normally have when you see a disaster like this.
He's always calling attention to himself. He could have shown far more empathy for the people.
I would hope he has some empathy. He has trouble talking about things besides himself.
Very little in terms of empathy from this president. Very little in terms of emotion or talking directly to the people of Texas.
This is way beyond petty. This is beyond disgusting, beyond shameful, even for the Destroy Trump media. The president has no empathy for suffering Americans. Really? Now, they clearly were not paying attention to his campaign. Remember, that was based on helping Americans get out of poverty, off of food stamps. In other words, the forgotten men and women in this country that need jobs. And as we've been showing you night in and night out, this is what the media does. They always find a way, even during a tragedy, to go after the president, try and discredit the president, delegitimize him, the First Lady, his family, his advisors, anybody that likes him and is associated with him. It just never fails, and it's why the president took to Twitter this morning to fight back and to put out his truth, which is obviously what people need to see. And he wrote, after witnessing firsthand the horror, the devastation caused by Hurricane Harvey, my heart goes out even more to the great people of Texas. Then he wrote, after reading the false reporting and even ferocious anger in some dying magazines, it does make me wonder why. All I want to do is make America great again. And then later added, Texas, Louisiana, we are with you today, we are with you tomorrow, and we will be with you every single day after to restore, recover, and rebuild. So this week, the line of attack is, oh, the president's heartless. He doesn't care about the victims. And, oh, let's pay attention to the shoes that his wife is wearing, the First Lady. And last week it was the president is unfit and unhinged. It never ends. You see, this media's shameless agenda, it just continues to be exposed. I say it's going to all boomerang back against them. They've wanted from day one to damage, destroy the president with every chance they get, and if they can't find one, they'll make up a reason, regardless of what he does. And guess what? It's you, the American people. It's you, the American people, that will remain suffering. And guess what? It's not the out-of-touch, overpaid, lazy, left-wing ideologues that are my so-called colleagues. I'm embarrassed to be associated with them in the media. Now, remember, they were so wrong about the 2016 election. They also don't care about the president's agenda. We told you last week about all of the items of success. They never reported on them. Well, all the proposals that will help millions of Americans that are suffering after 8 years of failed Obama policies that they never reported on. For example, will the media cover fairly the president's tax reform pitch that he put out today? Now, here's the president from earlier explaining why America desperately needs to have tax cuts and overhaul the tax system.
I am fully committed to working with Congress to get this job done, and I don't want to be disappointed by Congress. Do you understand me? First, we need a tax code that is simple, fair, and easy to understand. Second, we need a competitive tax code that creates more jobs and higher wages for Americans. It's time to give American workers the pay raise that they've been looking for many, many years. The third principle for tax reform is a crucial one: tax relief for middle-class families. Fourth and finally, we want to bring back trillions of dollars in wealth that's parked overseas. Millions of struggling citizens will be lifted from welfare to work. They will love getting up in the morning. They will love going to their job. They will love earning a big, fat, beautiful paycheck. They will be proud again. I am asking everyone in this room and across the nation to join me in demanding nothing but the best for our nation and for our people. And if we do these things, and if we care for and support each other and love each other, then we will truly make America great again.
Now, the president, just like he's been doing for months, he's leading. He's offering solutions. Do you ever hear any of these ideas from the media? Do they want to do the same thing? Have they ever offered up ways to solve the problems of those Americans that are in trouble and suffering, or ways to make people's lives better? No, they're obsessed with tearing down a president. Russia, 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 Russia. You know, examining the president's mental state. Well, what about their Trump derangement syndrome? You know what? It's time now for Congress to get on board, get behind this tax plan that'll create jobs, pass legislation. Look at this brand new Fox poll out tonight on the issue of passing tax reform this year. 49% of registered voters said yes, it's important. 78% said it's unlikely to happen. Well, that means it's time for Congress to get to work. And wait till we show you the polls about Congress and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell tonight. They need to pay attention and compare their poll numbers to the president, because the American people need things done. It's good for the country. It's good for those people that have been left behind. And if Congress can pass tax reform, like Ronald Reagan did, it will unleash a new wave of American prosperity and millions of new jobs, and get millions of Americans off food stamps and out of poverty and back in the labor force, and a shot at the American dream. So it's time to put the country first. Congress, get busy. time now. Joining us now is the counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, welcome aboard.
Hi, Sean.
By the way, can you please tell the audience what kind of shoes you're wearing tonight? Because they really want to know.
I wouldn't dare because I don't engage in such petty nonsense.
Yeah, and by the way, so this came up on my radio show today because my staff would say, well, what shoes do you wear? I didn't know I had a hole in my shoe until today. I didn't know. Does anybody, this is how petty, this isn't funny when people are dying. Everything they worked their whole lives for is being destroyed.
That's right.
And this is seriously what they want to talk about? This is not funny anymore.
That was one backdrop. The other backdrop was North Korea brazenly launching a missile towards Japan, invading their sovereignty and obviously violating just general conventions of international standards. But look, your opening segment is very instructive. You basically asked the question, Sean, when will the Trump detractors, naysayers, and critics, particularly those in the media, when will it end? The question is, when will it actually matter? There's very little indication that what the media are telling Americans is important to them is actually important to them. We saw that on the campaign, and we see it now in his presidency. He does not let them stop him from pushing forward on his agenda. Today's Exhibit A of that. He went to Missouri. He went to the heart of Route 66, Main Street America, and basically said to them, we want these manufacturing jobs to come back. You deserve a pay raise. You deserve a tax cut. The instruction page for the simple form is over 240 pages long. That's the instruction page. We're spending billions of hours. We're costing millions of jobs and trillions of dollars because of this draconian, outdated tax code. And by the way, the tax code currently favors the rich. It currently favors those who can afford lobbyists, lawyers, accountants to help them figure out how to pay little to no taxes. So he went to Missouri today anyway to tell the nation, and to tell the Congress, by the way, when they get back next week, that this president is set on reforming the tax code and giving relief to middle-class families, number one. Number two, he went to Texas yesterday. The vice president is going tomorrow, and the president will be back there and possibly Louisiana on Saturday. He's not going to allow the people in the peanut gallery who should be spending their time connecting people with information, tell them how to get diapers, pet rescue, food, medical supplies, medical care. Look at what our cabinet members are doing. They're there with the president, the vice president, instructing folks as to where they can get much needed help. And you've got the media obsessed with trying to tear down the president. I just think it's not going to work.
Let me put up another favorable opinion that came out at what, 44%. Pence's 46%. Paul Ryan got some things done in the House. Good for him. More than they've done in the Senate. Then you look at Nancy Pelosi, 31%. Schumer, 27%. Mitch McConnell, 20% and 18% in his own state. I'm hoping they're paying attention that the president remains twice as popular because he's doing his job and keeping his promises. And I think Congress needs to, get on board finally.
Well, these are data of which we're very much aware in the White House, particularly, why don't you throw up the mainstream media numbers as well? Somebody can call me and let me know when the president's approval rating gets as low as the media's approval rating and the Congresses and the parties. I mean, this is an incredibly important point because people see that he's trying to make good on his promises. He believes it's a moral imperative to get health care reform done, to get tax relief to middle-class families. And he is urging Congress, he said today, he's urging Congress to revive themselves and rescue themselves by passing tax reform. And that's really the president reminding them that they stood in the way of him, pen in hand, signing into law health care reform. You've got 29 million Americans without health insurance right now. You have 20 million who opted out of Obamacare, 6.5 million who paid a penalty, Sean, because they didn't want this great thing called Obamacare. Why is that important? It's important because you have a president who remains committed to getting it done. We're working with the governors. We're looking at the Graham-Cassidy bill. We're looking at other alternatives. And so this is a president ready to work with the Congress, but they need to come to the table, too, and get serious. And, again, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected by Harvey. Recovery and rebuilding will take a very long time. We're acutely aware of that.
All right, Kellyanne, maybe next time I'll see you have a new pair of shoes, considering the country's so obsessed on the left with shoes. Thank you
Just come barefoot, and then we don't have to talk about it.
Unbelievable. All right, thank you so much. Earlier today, I spoke with Texas Senator Ted Cruz. The stories of heroism and the people that I have interviewed and neighbor helping neighbor has been amazing. I've got to give your governor a lot of credit. I got to give your lieutenant governor a lot of credit. The federal response, you got 30,000 National Guard troops going in. Are you confident, and this was a question I asked the governor last night, in the short term, there are people that need food, water, medicine, baby formula, cots, blankets. My friend at My Pillow sent 60,000 pillows over. Are you confident all of these necessities in the short term will be there and a good enough plan for those people that will be years away from getting back in their homes?
I am, Sean. Priority number one is the preservation of life. We've seen incredible heroes from first responders, firefighters, police officers, EMS, National Guardsmen, Coast Guardsmen rescuing lives. The storm is still ongoing in East Texas and Louisiana, and those rescue operations are underway. The next stage is going to be rebuilding. I've spent this morning at the shelter at the George R. Brown Convention Center helping serve breakfast, helping care for people there. We had 11,000 people who had lost their homes, who spent the night there last night. And we're seeing churches and charities and private citizens throughout the community stepping up. It has been incredible. And the most incredible part, Sean, local officials put out a call just to citizens. If you can help, step up and help. And we have hundreds of just ordinary men and women who had a flat-bottom boat, who had a bass boat, who had a jet ski and went out and rescued their fellow citizens. A couple of days ago, I was at the Harris County Emergency Command Center. There's an entire wall of Post-its of all the people who called in and said, I've got a boat, I can help. Hundreds upon hundreds. This death toll, as horrifying as it is, we lost one brave Houston police officer. It could have been much, much higher. And the reason it isn't is so many people risk their lives. We're going to have the resources at the state level, at the local level, and the federal level. The president has committed unequivocally to supporting the people of Texas and Congress in a bipartisan way. I've had senators from both parties reaching out to me saying we're going to stand with Texas, and Texas will come through this, and we're going to be stronger, Sean.
All right, Senator, and I know my friends at Samaritan's Purse are there. Samaritan's Purse. I know the Red Cross is there. I know churches are all hands on deck. Our thoughts and prayers, Senator. We love the people in your state. We are very sorry for all that's happened, and we wish you the best. And we'll continue to focus on this in the days, weeks, and months ahead, sir. All right, now, earlier this month, Republican Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, he went to London. He met with Julian Assange face-to-face. The California lawmaker now says he's working on arranging a meeting with the president. Is it possible that Russia-Trump collusion never happened? We'll find out next as we talk to that. A Hannity investigation straight ahead.
This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Trace Gallagher in the Woodlands, Texas. We spent 4 hours today on a Black Hawk helicopter with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and we found an area between Houston and Beaumont, Texas, nearly 60 miles that was nothing but water. It looked like lake after lake after lake. In the towns of Port Arthur and Beaumont, all the houses, almost all the subdivisions totally inundated with water. And we were also riding along with U.S. Customs and Border Protection when they did a very compelling rescue of a family. Watch. Here we go. Here we go. This is the first rescue mission we've seen since we've been live with this. It's a child and her mom, right? Over and over again. Can you imagine being a child like this? It just breaks your heart. The whole family, including the dog, made it safely. Continuing coverage on Fox News Channel.
Did Russia give you this information or anybody associated with Russia?
Our source is not a state party. So the answer for our interactions is no.
You did not get this information about the DNC, John Podesta's emails. Can you tell the American people 1,000% you did not get it from Russia or anybody associated with Russia?
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange on this program back in January denying Russia had anything to do with giving WikiLeaks the DNC emails during the 2016 election. Earlier this month, Republican Congressman Dana Rohrabacher of California traveled to London. He met Assange face-to-face, the first congressman to do that. Following the meeting, Rohrabacher predicted that if the American people knew the information that Assange has, and he would be the one guy that knows the truth of where it all came from, they would be outraged over the time that was wasted blaming Russia for this particular hack. And now Congressman Rohrabacher says that a meeting is being arranged between him and the president to discuss what he was told by the WikiLeaks founder. Now, former NSA whistleblower Bill Binney, 34-year veteran, he's also questioning the Russian hacking story. Watch this.
The NSA, for example, has all the fiber optic taps across the United States and even around the world, plus trace route programs embedded in hundreds of places all over the network. So I knew they would know if packets were being passed around the U.S. or outside the U.S. or anywhere in the world, they could trace them and see who got them. I mean, they did that several years ago with the Chinese hack that came in that said it came from that building, I think, in Shanghai. Well, they could do the same thing with virtually any hack. So right away, I began to question that assertion that they were hacking into the DNC.
Now, I had Bill Binney on my radio program. He said 99% certainty, 34-year veteran, NSA, that it was not Russia. Now, some news outlets have also been reporting that former U.S. spies doubt this Russia hacking narrative, including Bloomberg. They ran an article entitled, "Why Some U.S. Ex-Spies Don't Buy the Russia Story." Even the liberal Nation, they wrote a new report, raises big questions about last year's DNC hack. The Washington Times did the same thing. Joining us now, California Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. One, I want to give you credit. It is true that if there's one person on earth that would know the source of this, wouldn't it be Julian Assange of WikiLeaks? And isn't it true WikiLeaks has never been wrong in 11 years?
Well, I don't know if they've never been wrong, but I know that he's the ultimate source.
Never been proven wrong. And the material they released.
Proven wrong. Oh, yeah. The things that he released were honest and truthful. Now, some of the things he released, I'll have to admit to you, I would have preferred him not releasing. I thought it was wrong, but you take a balance of what's happened. He's disclosed massive amounts of information of which the government's been keeping secret from us. And I think it's a good thing that American people have transparency in their government.
One thing, and I've interviewed him 4 times on radio and 1 time on TV, and I asked him numerous times, would you ever release anything that would put people in the field, innocent people, in harm's way? And he swore he would not. Are you convinced that that's true? Because I can't think of an instance. Can you?
Well, when you say it's whether or not someone is intentionally doing that, I certainly don't believe that he would intentionally put American intelligence or military people at risk. But some of the things that have come out, and I would have preferred, I would think, yeah, and well, not only embarrassing, but perhaps it's something that would have been best handled behind the scenes. But our government and all governments around the world have tried to hide massive amounts of information about what they're doing from their own people. And I think that what we have in WikiLeaks is an exposure that those things that they want to keep secret.
You know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, 3 times, 5 times. Allegedly, Julian Assange at 16, Kim.com at 16, hacked into the DOD, hacked into NASA. Now, he's 45. At what point is it America's fault that we have not built the cybersecurity to prevent that from happening? And at some point, do we blame our own government for its failure?
Well, I will just have to say that I don't think our government should have as many secrets as they have, and they've been keeping information from us. And Julian Assange's operation, well,
we should be unhackable after 35 years.
Well, we should be unhackable, but we should make sure that information that doesn't deserve to be secret should be available to the American people. Okay. And in that, Julian Assange is doing a great service.
Let's talk about
a great service.
So he would be the one person that knows where this information came from.
Right.
Do you believe that this Trump-Russia collusion narrative will be proven false, and do you believe he holds the key?
The answer is absolutely yes, and I think that this Russian narrative that you're talking about, this idea, this unrelenting, sinister, story about how Trump colluded with the Russians in order to steal the elections is a total con job, it's a fraud, and it's masking a power grab Because what they're doing is they're trying to undermine the ability of the person the voters voted for. They're undermining his ability to assume the power and authority and appointments that the President of the United States is given authority to do by the voters.
It is possible that the media has lied to the American people, and the Democrats have lied to the American people for nearly a year, and that they've disrupted the flow of information and manipulated the flow of information in this country for nearly a year. You're saying, what is the percentage certainty that this has all been a lie?
Oh, I would, in terms of what I believe, and after looking into this, I think it's about 99% that it's a total lie. This is and of course you've had these people who politicized our intelligence agencies, the Obama appointees who jumped into this, giving credence to a total fraudulent analysis of what happened. And this was not something where Russia colluded with Trump in order to steal the elections. They are stealing the elections.
Doesn't Robert Mueller then need to talk to Assange? Doesn't he need to at least look at the evidence or attempt to get the evidence? Does he care about the truth? And
these people haven't even looked at Hillary Clinton's collusion with the Russians, where they put tens of millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation. Unbelievable. But then they want to find out, did someone with President Trump actually talk in some ways?
Okay.
And then they complain about me. By the way, just
I'm about to lose you.
I've had a lot of people who attack me. I am the chairman of the committee that oversees our relations with Russia. It is my job to
You
find
have a
this out.
specific message for the President of the United States, but it's only one that you could tell him privately.
That's
in this
correct.
environment, is it going to be hard to tell him privately? Because, Dana Rohrabacher is now sending back messages from Julian Assange. Is that going to be possible? And if not, will you go public with what you know? And obviously, Julian Assange probably wants to just be left alone and go to Ecuador, is what I'd imagine, right?
I think that's probably it. I think what we have here, it's really important for the truth to be known. And I think the President of the United States needs to hear what the details are. And I understand that a meeting with myself and the President is being arranged. So at that point, the purpose is to alert the American people to the truth of what of this whole situation
If he has the truth that will blow this lie out of the water that you're saying, and 99% certainty, does he deserve immunity if he reveals the truth to the American people?
Well, if the truth is revealed to the American people, this is a game changer in this unrelenting, hostile attack by the media and this power grab by the left wing. And if he helps thwart that, yeah, he deserves a reward.
All right, Dana Rohrabacher, we're going to have you back next week. We'll stay on this story. This is a pretty blockbuster. When we come back, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, straight ahead. And welcome back to Hannity. So last week, the country learned that Dr. Sebastian Gorka was no longer working for the White House. However, Dr. Gorka still vows to work as hard as he can to push through the president's agenda and to drain the D.C. swamp. Joining us now, the man himself, author of the best-selling book, Defeating Jihad, former deputy assistant to the president, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. I was surprised and, frankly, a little bit shocked at this happening. You told me that you believe you can help push the president's agenda better from the outside. Tell us what happened.
Well, look, what everybody understands, I think, especially your viewers and the Fox followers, is last year on November the 8th, it really was an insurgency. It wasn't the establishment that won. It wasn't the GOP. It was a New York mogul, a tycoon of real estate, with his merry band of scrappy insurgents that won the election against all odds, crushed 16 competitors, defeated a woman who'd spent $700 million, okay? So when the inauguration happens, this small band of merry men and a couple of women enter the White House, and it's a hostile takeover, Sean, a classic hostile takeover.
Well, explain. Most people wouldn't understand this, Dr. Gorka. I mean, I actually looked at some of the remarks. You're talking about bureaucrats, policymakers, and we see Congress, Republicans that are weak and pathetic, spineless, visionless, and frankly, I don't even think they have an identity anymore. But you're saying that he's actually battling people within the White House. What does that mean? Who are these bureaucrats? You mean Obama holdovers?
It's not just Obama holdovers. I'm not going to fuel the palace intrigue because, I was the brunt of that as well as everybody else on the side of the MAGA train for 8 months. But the fact is, one of your Fox colleagues summed it up very well. They were talking about my boss, Steve Bannon, leaving, and they said, whatever you think of Steve Bannon, he would not have been at home in a Clinton White House. Absolutely. We have people in the White House who not only would have been at home in a Clinton White House, they probably would have been cabinet members. That's the reality when a small band of people go against the swamp. I decided after the Afghan speech by the president, the best thing I can do to support his agenda is to come out of government service and use all the tools available to a private citizen. And I assured the president on Saturday after I resigned that I am he asked me to support him, and I said, I'm going to support you 100% from the outside, because, Sean, it's about the long game.
I know you mean that, and I will say this, that I've never seen a president have to deal with a leak a day from within its own government, or conversations with presidents and prime ministers leaked. And if they don't stop that leaking, the unmasking, the surveillance, and all the shenanigans, Espionage Act violations, it's going to be problematic for the entire country.
The unmasking is the big story, Steve. Stay tuned.
Did you say Steve or Sean?
Sean. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Dr. Gorka. And we'll have you on often. Appreciate you being here. When we come back, the FBI dismisses the Freedom of Information Act request for files about the department's investigation into Clinton server scandal. Why? We've got the reason. It'll shock you. Also, brand new Fox News contributor Tommy Lahren, Geraldo Rivera weigh in straight ahead.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Steve Harrigan in Koontz, Texas. The rain continues to fall here and the flood waters continue to rise. Throughout the day, volunteers with flat-bottom boats headed out down flooded highways in search of people in need of help. They went to subdivisions all across the state, pulling people out of flooded houses or else serving as water taxis, bringing food, medicine, and water to those who decided to stay inside their flooded homes. The rain in this part of Texas has hit 49 inches. The result, entire towns, some with population of thousands, isolated by water. We saw some flatboats going out a short time ago. They said they didn't know what they would find in those areas. The rescues here continue. This, as the rains continue to fall, the real damage won't be clear until the water recedes. Now back to Hannity.
Welcome back to Hannity. The FBI shoots down a Freedom of Information Act request to release files about their investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. And the reason is beyond bizarre, and frankly, I don't believe it. The letter from the FBI to the lawyer who put in the FOIA request reads in part, quote, "You have not sufficiently demonstrated that the public's interest in disclosure outweighs personal privacy interests of the subject." Here with reaction, and by the way, brand new Fox contributor Tommy Lahren is with us, and Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera. All right, so Tommy's new to Fox, Geraldo. You're a 50-year TV veteran, so I'm going to go to her first all the time.
I would hope so.
Tommy,
so would I.
Welcome aboard the Fox News channel, and our audience is very familiar with you. You've been on a ton of times before. How would this not be in our best interest? It's in everybody's best interest to get the truth, right?
Well, of course it is, and I think that the funny part of this whole thing is that her privacy somehow trumps our right to know. I'm sorry, when you use a private email on a private server, your privacy rights are out the window when you're the Secretary of State of the United States of America. You don't have privacy anymore. She chose to do this. This is on her, and I personally would like to know.
All right. Geraldo, you're a lawyer. Subpoenaed emails. Now, you're also my friend. Let's say I deleted 33,000 subpoenaed emails. Let's say I decided to acid wash the servers and the hard drives with bleach bit. Let's say I took a hammer to my BlackBerries and iPhones just to make sure they don't exist. And then I sent the FBI the other devices with no SIM cards. And I hire you to protect me. what's the first thing you're going to do? Probably give me a cake with a file in it because I'm going to need it, right? Not even you could get me off of that.
I would do that and much more for you. But let me, before I get into the substance of your question, welcome Tommy, who, although I obviously disagree with many of her political positions, I think she has intelligence, she's reasonable, and she's got, most importantly to me and you, true grit. So, Tommy, welcome aboard. In terms of the substance, though, of her answer and your obvious concerns, Sean, I think that this is a disaster for Republicans to get anywhere near this stuff. It has already destroyed the career of Jason Chaffetz, who led the charge. Trey Gowdy, who was a promising candidate heading for great things, as maybe a senator from South Carolina. I think he's an afterthought. They were made fools of. Enough with Hillary's emails. That's a big yawner.
So, Geraldo, we should ignore the law.
The FBI has already considered
you don't believe in equal justice under the law? You want a two-tier justice system. I'd go to jail, and she gets off the hook. And Tommy would go to jail, too.
You know, Sean, if she was going to go to jail, she would have gone to jail when James Comey, in the summer of 2016, announced that there was nothing criminal there but extreme carelessness.
Oh.
Enough already.
Tommy,
we have so many bigger fish to fry.
You go after Geraldo. Take him on.
Well, listen, I have some friends that spent a few hours in Benghazi would really like to know what was in those emails, and they really like to know why she deleted them. So to say that the public doesn't have a right to know or that we're not interested, that's a load of crap, number one. Number two, how about we make a deal? How about when the mainstream media stops covering Russia day in and day out, maybe we can drop the Hillary email scandal. But until then, I think I'm going to stay on it.
Two points. Number one, with all due modesty, I was almost killed in Benghazi, Libya. I know the turf pretty well, and I don't take a backseat to anyone when it comes to that regard. Russia is another big yawner. I totally agree. I think this guy,
Uranium
Imran
20%.
This is the guy they should check out as the possible colluder on the leaks with WikiLeaks. You know, the guy who worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I think there is fertile grounds for investigation. Probe forward. Forget about history and the sordid history and political history. Go forward. What was the DNC hiding? Why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz hire this guy now accused of
Who gets to delete
espionage?
emails? That are subpoenaed? All right, Tommy, welcome aboard. Geraldo, you're going to have your hands full in days and weeks ahead.
I see that, man.
Tommy's going after you. My job just got so easy. Good to see you both. Tommy, welcome aboard. Good to have you. And when we come back, the Daily Caller exclusively reporting Debbie Wasserman Schultz, IT aide, who has been indicted by a grand jury, still has an account that is active on the House computer system. The reporter breaking that story, Luke Rosiak, here next. And welcome back to Hannity. Shocking new details tonight from the former DNC chair, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz's former IT aide. Remember, he was arrested for bank fraud while trying to flee the country and was most recently indicted on 4 charges, including conspiracy, making false statements. Tonight, the Daily Caller is reporting exclusively, quote, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's IT staffer banned from House Network months ago still has an active account. How's that possible? Joining us now, the one reporter in this country that actually sees us for the news that is, Daily Caller, investigative reporter Luke Rosiak. This, to me, is straight. This is a guy double billing, had family members that had worked and I think got fired at McDonald's. Another one worked at a car dealership. Double billing, they knew it for a year and she kept him working. Broken government hard drives in his garage. And he still has an active account, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Imran Mawan has been accused of fraud throughout his life. There's all kinds of red flags. He's been indicted. The cops are all over him. And the whole time he's got this second email address, this crazy address, 123@mail.house.gov. And this is a backdoor into the House system, even with all the attention on him, even with the FBI all over the case. He's got a backdoor, which is something that hackers do. Is when they get in somewhere, they put a backdoor. And so authorities banned him from the network and said this guy is a danger to Congress, but they didn't know about this email address, and it's been active the whole time up until yesterday and even today.
How is it possible that you have more government hard drives busted up? How is it possible? Why did she keep him on? Do you believe the story that this was about, oh, I didn't want to racial profile somebody?
Well, look, I mean, all you have to do is pull up the civil lawsuits that these guys have been in, and they've been accused of fraud by Muslim neighbors and relatives even. So many times their own stepmom says that they extorted her. I mean, these guys, there's every indication that they would do anything for money. And when you talk to the people that knew them in real life, that's what like 4 or 5 of them have said pretty much that exact thing. And then you have Democrats who have been talking for the last year about how serious hacking is. They're told by the police that this guy is a criminal suspect in a cybersecurity thing. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz makes the, really, if you think about how remarkable this is, she said the FBI framed him. I mean, that's quite an accusation to make against law enforcement in this country.
All right. We're going to continue to follow this story. We have so much more to get to. We're not going to let this go. And the fact that the media doesn't report on this, you and I both know if it was a Republican, it'd be huge. Luke, congratulations. Keep on it, and we'll have you back as soon as we can. Thank you.